We've been on the hunt for the best solution to accommodate growth in our church and still get everybody in the same service while we wait for our next permanent home. That's why we blew out the back wall of our auditorium and expanded into the foyer. We just finished the renovations and increased our seating capacity by about 40%, and we had to sacrifice a classroom and about 50% of our foyer square footage, but it ended up working out really well. I'm going to take you on the 3-week journey of getting this all done. Stick around to the end to see the finished product. This was more work than we had the time and expertise to try and accomplish on our own, so we hired out all of the construction. During week 1, the back wall of the auditorium came down, as well as the drop ceiling above the section of the foyer that is now becoming the auditorium. As you can see, the drywall above the drop ceiling needed a lot of work, and the connection point from the previous wall was going to need some blending. On top of that, we needed to add 2 more rows of pendant lighting to the new section and modify the HVAC piping to match the rest of the auditorium. Oh, and relocate the doorway to the auditorium. Most of this got held off until week 2, so we met in a wedding venue about 10 miles away for that Sunday. At the start of week 2, the new wall and entry into the auditorium was up and the HVAC was finished. The electrician was moving a little more slowly with the lighting install, but it was coming along. There was still work to be done in the new foyer, as half of it used to be a classroom with carpet and some shelving. It also had a different window tint that was newer, darker, and a different color temperature than the rest of the foyer, so something was going to have to be done about that. By Thursday, it looked like not everything was going to be finished by Sunday for church, so we focused on prioritizing what needed to be done to hold service there in 3 days safely. On Thursday, the drywall guys got the ceiling painted black and then came back Friday to do most of the drywall mudding. Cade, Paul, and I were busy Friday afternoon installing new PA speakers to replace our tired old ones that were not going to be able to cut it with the added square footage. We upgraded from PRX 12s to SRX 15s, and the difference was night and day. These new speakers cost about twice as much, but they give about twice the sound quality, if not more. We were very impressed. Keep an eye out for the dedicated video about that upgrade. We set aside the entire day on Saturday to move the sound booth back, and man, was it a good time. That's sarcasm. I didn't get a ton of footage of this because we were busy all day. Cade ran new longer cables down the ceiling to accommodate the added distance, while I worked on unplugging and organizing all of the cables at the booth. I realized that today was the day that I would be paying for the sins of my past, because those cables were in a rat's nest under the booth from not being very organized years ago and not being organized every time that we added a new cable. I got what I deserved on that one and made sure that the experience is much nicer for the next time we get down there to remove anything. While we worked on the sound booth, another crew of volunteers removed the shelving from the foyer and replaced all of the stained ceiling tiles. We flipped everything on at 4 p.m. on Saturday, and to our amazement, everything worked right away, and we were ready for church tomorrow. The lighting and drywall mudding was still not finished, and everything still needed to be painted, but we had a great service that week and left looking forward to seeing the finished product next week. Early week 3, our drywall guys got everything finished up and painted, and the electrician got lighting done. Our next door neighbor is a tinning business, and he got the tint worked out for us. We got the carpet pulled up in the foyer and realized that the concrete was going to need some work. We did our best to clean up the glue and get it looking as good as possible, but realized it was most likely going to need some professional help, so we started getting quotes on that. So here we are with the renovations about 95% done. All we are currently waiting on is the hardware for the auditorium door and a decision on the floor finish. So let me show you the finished product. The size of the auditorium feels so much better now than it did before. The smaller foyer does feel a little on the cozy side, but it's not bad at all. What's next for us? Well, right after we pulled the trigger on getting these renovations going, we finally heard back from a landowner here in town about some land that we are interested in purchasing. We've been trying to get in direct contact with him for months, but it turns out the realtors have not been giving our messages to him. We're currently in conversation with him though, to hopefully work out a deal that works for both parties. The land currently has a large metal barn on it with a great foundation for building our next home. It'll be a lot of work ahead of us, but we're excited for what's to come and thankful for the extra room that we now have to hold us over until all of that is done. Who knows, we might even keep our current space to use as a smaller venue or a second location, or we might just get to hand it over to another church to make it their home. We're so thankful for all that God has done through our church and so excited to see what He has in store for us in the future. If you enjoy these videos and would like to see more of our journey, can you let me know down in the comments? And if you have any other questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them as well. I'll see you next time.